Welcome to the High Achievers Quest podcast, where we host extraordinary individuals who are disrupting and transforming the way we do business and the way we lead ourselves and others. Now, our today's guest will bring a fresh perspective and insights on the world of startups, disruptive technologies, and leadership. So, buckle up and stay tuned. Our guest, Mark Kalin, is an experienced entrepreneur, expert in establishing innovative ecosystems, and very passionate about achieving cultural transformations. He's the director of a Swedish fund, a Swedish investment fund, 1337 Works, that connects the two superpowers, Europe and Asia, through Sweden, Slovenia, and Dubai. And he is also a member of the management board of Business Angels of Slovenia, where he is actively looking for that next unicorn idea. He was also a coordinator of Slovenian Blockchain Think Tank and has mentored and helped several startups. Now, Mark has a very rich track record in business experience, but he also has not only one, not only two, but four master degrees. Now, all the way from beautiful Slovenia, please help me welcome Mark Kalin. Mark, welcome.
Andreja, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you as well, Mark. Now, before we dive into the world of startups and disruptive technologies, I would love for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So I'll start with an icebreaker question, which is, what are you obsessed with? What is Mark all about?
Fantastic question, Andrea. Like always, you like to put me on the spot. So, it's. I have a couple of passions, if I can call them. It's a healthy obsession. So I'm really a huge fan of constant innovation, disruptive technologies, meaning AI, machine learning, 3D printing. We've got virtual reality, blockchain, cloud computing. So these are all the technologies that are actually changing our ways of living. So on one hand, we have these new technologies. On the other hand, we have platforms that are constantly disrupting our ways of living as well. So we've got Airbnb that has no houses. We've got Uber that owns no cars. We've got 9 million apps available today. Did you know that, for example, in 1 minute, 400,000 apps are downloaded. We've got 10,000 connections are made on LinkedIn every minute. So I'm just fascinated by the world we live in. It's just a beautiful, amazing world. It has a really fast pace. So technology is one thing that drives me. And the other one is definitely leadership, how to lead in this is, let's call them crazy, hectic, fast-paced, disruptive, innovative times. So those would be two of my obsessions.
Well, looking at your past and your current achievements, Mark, you always seem to be a part of that next new thing, even before that thing becomes popular, especially when it comes to the world of technology. Now, I know that in 2018, you were a part of the team that launched the very first Bitcoin city in the entire world. That happened in Slovenia. And being so involved and interested in all these disruptive technologies, and obviously what's yet to come, there's a lot of companies in the world right now that have a challenge of needing to digitize almost overnight. What would be your advice or a tip that you would share with those companies dealing with that specific challenge?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my suggestion would be innovation comes in various forms. And I would say that most challenges companies have is they all of a sudden they have a desire to start with innovation. So they go all in. My suggestion would be always innovate. Small changes are the best changes. To have constant innovations with small improvements on various fields, either it's business development, so searching for new business models, either it's the culture, the people in the company. Always try to make small improvements, so small innovations. The way I usually approach something like this, and when we talk to companies, and when I was in charge of innovation in a couple of companies, I always try to come up with a blueprint. So where we are, what's our current state of the company, and what's our strategy, our vision, where we want to be, what's our new business model that we can explore together with the team that we have and with the partners that we have. So I would always say start small. Don't make big changes. We all know that people, we are afraid of changes, especially if they're unknown, and new technologies are changing our life in terms of not only providing us better opportunities, but also giving us a lot of insights into our lives. There are actually a lot of data points that are being gathered. For example, Facebook tracks 26 data points about every person. So that can be scary, but at the same time, it can be helpful. So I would say start small, but start.
Got it. Okay, well, thank you. That's a very useful tip. And what about if we now talk about companies, their strategies, innovation? Obviously, there has to be, for a change to happen, one needs to innovate. And I know that you're very deeply involved in the startup world as well. You're a part of the managing board of Business Angels of Slovenia. You're also a director of a Swedish VC fund. So, as someone who's deeply involved in this world, could you give us a little bit of a picture of what is a journey of a startup company that wants to get funded, that wants to secure an investment?
Fantastic question. I love startups. This is an amazing world. It's like every day you have people that try to realize their dreams. And I always say to people, we all have different ideas. Every day, probably when you walk on the street, where you think, when you try to relax, you have an idea. And some ideas can actually become unicorns. They can become $1 billion worth businesses. And it's truly astounding. So I would say that try to write down every idea that you have if you're an entrepreneur, and try to write a small, let's call it a small business plan. But in terms of startups, startups are extremely fascinating. There are actually a couple of commonalities. In my opinion, I've seen a lot of startups. I deal with a lot of young entrepreneurs and also older entrepreneurs. And I have to say that for me, the most important thing is always the team. Because we all know that idea or the solution, the product, the service that you're providing is going to pivot. It's going to change. It's going to transform over time. Every idea that has come to life has always transformed during a certain period. For example, YouTube was supposed to be a dating website, and it's now one of the biggest platforms for videos and then for hosting different types of content. So I would say that the team for me is extremely important. I want to see that spark, that desire, that X factor, if we call it, that you just know that they realize that the path is going to be extremely tough, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of challenges, but in the end, they have the right team that they can count on, that they're going to make it happen. And there's a statistics that's going around in the research that around 22% of teams, of startups fail because of the team.
Got it. In order for a startup to secure an investment, they need to go through several rounds, as you call them, right? Now, we have a lot of people here with amazing ideas. They're all very high achievers. Could you share with us what is the journey of a startup? If you have a $1 billion idea, if you're a potential unicorn, but you need investment, you do need funding to get there. Where would you start? What are all the rounds that companies need to go through? And what would you as an investor really look out for?
So you've got, let's say you start with an idea. You've got incubators, you've got accelerators, and then you've got VCs. So the way that a startup today can approach is, if you're extremely early stage, you would go to an incubator. So they would help you develop an idea, maybe to a certain extent, a certain product or a service. And then the next phase would definitely be accelerator, which helps you accelerate your sales, your growth, your go-to-market strategy in terms of entering more markets. And in all these phases, you can actually already start talking with the VCs. You've got different types of VC. The Swedish VC I work for, we invest into very early stage startups, so idea based. Then you've got different types of VCs. The most known is probably the Y Combinator, that's based in Silicon Valley, that has invested in Uber and all these big giants, Airbnb. So what I would suggest is, if you have an idea, try to write it down. Try to write down a small, let's call it a business plan. Canvas business model is a fantastic solution that you can find online. And then you need to be prepared to answer questions. The type of questions: who's on your team? What is your product or solution solving? What kind of problem? Is this a big problem or is this a small problem? What's the market size? What's the go-to-market strategy? What's the cost of acquiring a customer? What's the lifetime value of a customer? So those are all going to be extremely important questions. What are the trends? What kind of industry you're entering? So a lot of questions and analysis and data go into something that eventually will give you funding. I tried to be short.
Great answer, Mark. Thank you. Well, tell us also, given that you are so aware of success in the startup world as well, like you said, a lot of companies succeed, but many, many, many more fail. You did touch on a very big priority, or a very big aspect that investors look at when acquiring or when deciding to invest into a startup, which was the team, right? The importance of the team cohesiveness. What would be the 3 commonalities for a successful startup?
That's a great question. So at the top of my mind, I would definitely focus on the team. So the team dynamics. I always like to see, and I think that the commonality would be that you've got team members that have huge passion, that just know that this is going to be a success, that they're not quitters. And then also you've got team members that complement each other. Usually a good team dynamics would be, you've got a CEO with a business background, you've got a CTO with technical skills, and you've got somebody that's really great in marketing. So let's say a CMO. So the second thing would definitely be to have a team that complements with their knowledges and competences. And the final thing would be, I would have to say, you need to be hungry. You need to be extremely hungry. You need to be relentless with contacts, with networking, with looking for connecting with investors, talking to people, just getting your idea out there. You need to have a fantastic elevator pitch. So a presentation. So for example, if you have an idea and we meet in the elevator, you have 1 minute to impress me and to get a business card from me. So to get my phone number or an email where you can send me your presentation, we can continue our discussion. So I think that my focus would definitely be not on the service, the solution, but on the team, because the team is going to be something that they're either going to make it or break it.
Yeah. Great answer. Well, I'm going to address and we'll create a bit of a pause now with all those grilling questions, and we'll address the elephant in the room. And what I mean by that is, in my introduction of you in our today's show, I mentioned that you have not 1, not 2, but 4 master degrees. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people very interested in what are the topics of those master degrees, and also what prompted you to obtain 4? Why was 4 enough?
Well, Andreja, you have a perfect podcast title, so High Achievers Quest. So I always have had and have goals. Since I was young, I think when I was 14 or 15, I already told my parents, I'm going to go abroad to study and work and live. And I'm the kind of person that really likes finding opportunities and really taking everything that's possible, that's offered to me. So when I was studying and working, there was an opportunity that appeared to me to go live in the States, abroad. And so I enrolled into one of the universities, private universities, and I finished my first master's degree, the MBA, so Master's in Business Administration. And then I was really hungry for more knowledge. So I've always been extremely passionate about leading big teams, big projects. And as we both know, when you have a team of, let's say, 50 people or even less, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of complications that can be involved. And with big projects that have huge budgets that need to be accomplished, every delay can cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. So that's why my second master's was focused on project management, solely on project management, how to lead people, how to negotiate, how to tackle time constraints, how to plan projects. Really, it was a fantastic thing. And then I was still hungry. I still wanted to expand my knowledge. And I've always related sports to business in the sense that in sports, you need to be able to play with the team. So teamwork, you need to be hungry for victory, to achieve a higher purpose, to win competitions. You're going to obviously lose. So there are challenges. So for me, sports and business kind of go hand in hand. So, and I've always been extremely passionate about different types of sports, ice hockey, handball, fitness. So my third master's degree was focused on sports management and wellness. So it really focused on how to stay healthy, well-being, also how to focus not only on physical health, but also on mental health, and also how to manage hospitals, fitness centers, so this type of things. And then when I returned back home to Slovenia, I wanted to expand my knowledge in terms of business, so international business, understanding different cultures. I mean, I work for a Swedish VC, so for me to understand the Swedish culture versus Slovenian culture versus Arab culture, it's something that I need to understand. So my final master's degree, so fourth, was international business, where I tried to really expand my knowledge in terms of how to do business in different countries, from legal aspect as well from business point of view.
Oh, that's fantastic. It sounds like every single master's degree and every single hunger instinct, I guess, has brought you to where you are today, which is a great accumulation of knowledge and business experience. So
Exactly.
I'd like to congratulate you for that. I think there's many people who, take it to their hearts and tasks to write one master's degree, let alone four. So I do know, though, that in one of your master degrees, you were already talking about the importance of virtual teams. And I believe this was way back in 2015, when virtual teams were not a necessity as they are today in the post-pandemic world. Um, to all the leaders out there who are running these virtual teams and trying to motivate and making sure that their teams stay engaged and happy and nourished mentally and emotionally, and obviously stay on top of the performance and results and the agendas of the company, what sort of tips, advice, or insight would you be able to offer to those leaders?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So in 2015, I really tried to observe the effects of, because we have the effect of globalization. We've got multinational companies that already do implement and have before me implemented virtual teams. But the main aspect I was looking at is how to create extremely efficient, productive virtual teams. The teams that are actually A teams, in the sense that they are really highly efficient. So I approach this problem in a couple of ways, and the way I always try to present it is to establish a extremely motivated, highly efficient, productive team. You always need to get to know your team members. Let's take an example that you have a team that's spread all over the world. So first of all, there's no physical presence, and we know that these water cooler moments are extremely important, that you get to know people. So what motivates them, what makes them happy, what happened yesterday, what kind of show did they watch, do they like coffee or tea? So those things are taken away when you have virtual world. There's no more physical presence, which is extremely important. So when you're trying to compose a team that's going to be very efficient, you first need to get to know your team members. You need to get to know them. You need to organize them in terms that they can click well together. You need to bring them together. You need to establish some sort of guidelines, when you're going to meet, what time. So if you're in different time zones, you need to schedule meetings that every time a different person either needs to wake up early or late. So you kind of rotate. And then you need to create these water cooler moments. You need to make them open. You need to motivate them. You need to create an atmosphere that is extremely motivating. You need to create an atmosphere of trust, passion. It's also extremely important with virtual teams that they see a sense in a project, that they actually see the vision of the project that they're working on. And also, a lot of times, I would bring the teams together. So you do need to schedule physical meetings, physical conferences, team buildings, things like that. But I would say the most important thing is to try to create a cohesion in the team, meaning that there's passion, that there's trust, open communication. You need to establish clear guidelines. So how you're going to communicate, Slack, email, what's appropriate, what time you can send an email or a call. What's the modus operandi of actually this business processes? And third, you need to create a vision or a purpose for the team. So what's the purpose of the project? What kind of problem they're solving? So those would be kind of my, let's say, 3 steps of trying to create the A team.
Fantastic. Great tips. Thank you for that. I can see how passionate you are about leadership. And this kind of guides us perfectly into the next project that I'd like to touch on, because I think it's fascinating and it brings so much value. It's a social platform that you've started called Beyond Leadership. And it kind of caught fire here in Slovenia. It's really popular. Students love it. Managers and leaders love it. And the idea and the concept behind it was that you bring really experienced business leaders and students, academia together, and kind of match that real life experience in business and help students understand and grasp those concepts. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the mission behind this project? What got you to start it, and where is it headed?
Yeah, this is one of my babies, as I like to call it. It's a project that came out of an idea. I love talking about leadership, and we all know that we have different types of leaders. We've got the old school versus new school. We've got authentic. We've got transformational, sustainable leadership styles. So all these different leadership styles, and I've always thought of myself to be an extremely open, authentic leader, meaning that for me, leadership is building relationships. It's establishing these relationships one-on-one, getting to know people, getting to know their motivations, what makes them happy, what's their goal, what are their secret talents, these X factors that can basically make them amazing individuals. So when I was thinking about Slovenia, because I returned, I lived in about 4 years in US, and when I came back to Slovenia, I got to know all these amazing entrepreneurs, people, companies, and I noticed that we really don't talk about them. It's like we're a little bit shy, or not that we don't really want to give attention to all these individuals. So I said I want to create a platform where we hear these stories, we hear their pains, their challenges, their daily routines, their victories, small victories. How did they manage to overcome challenges? What do they eat for breakfast? Everything. What's the success? The secret sauce for success. So I established Beyond Leadership with a goal to connect everybody, to basically on one hand have this young crowd community of students, of young entrepreneurs, and on the other side have also academia, which kind of gives us the latest research in terms of leadership, and also the top managers and business leaders, the CEOs, the presidents of the management boards. So I created this platform, and it's fantastic because let me tell you, Andreja, it's amazing to hear, because we all have Elon Musk's, Jeff Bezos in different countries. They're not as known, but they are here. It's interesting to see these types of people talk about that they worked for 15 years and they had a lot of sleepless nights. They had a lot of challenges. They failed 5 times before they succeeded, because at the end, we only always see success. We see successful people and we always say, wow, they were extremely lucky. But we don't see all this beneath the iceberg, all that happened, all the tears, all the sweat they put into. So I wanted to create a platform where we hear their stories, and we can inspire young leaders, and we can share thoughts, we can share different leadership styles, we can kind of connect, um, network. Because for me, the most important thing is bringing people together, connecting people, and trying to establish new successful stories. So in short, this is something I'm extremely passionate about. It's a successful project, and it's really getting more and more attention, and I'm really happy about it.
Absolutely. I'm super thrilled. I'm an avid listener. I love all the guests and all the content that you create. So keep up the great work. I think we would all agree it's going places, that's for sure. So you're a very busy individual, Mark. And I know very often with high achievers, there's a little bit of that life work balance that we try to catch. If we go too hard into the grind of the business, the health area can suffer a little bit. And if we go too much into the health area, then the business grind can suffer a little bit. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
bit about your life work balance? What does that look like for you? Do you have any habits, routines, anything that keeps you on top of your game?
Yeah, great question. There's been a lot of topics, research done if work-life balance actually exists. In my opinion, I would say no, because two things. One is, if you're extremely passionate individual, you're probably gonna think about your business, about new ideas constantly. Even when you're on vacation, you're probably gonna spend a little bit thinking about, oh, that project, wow, I should have done that. And second of all, I think that we live in a time that where it's just so many opportunities. It's amazing. There's so many technologies are here to help. It is fast-paced world, but still a lot of opportunities. So um, I would say that in a way there's no work-life balance, but I am a person who really likes routines. So my days are quite planned. I'm extremely well organized, if I can say so. So I usually like to start the days really early, either 5 or 5:30 a.m., where I have a walk with my pet dog, Japanese Akita. So, and during that time, I just like to think, what do we have today? What do I need to do? What's the most important thing? And just relax. I don't usually look at my cell phone, emails, nothing. That just kind of me time or our time in a sense. So I usually also like to do a workout, a quick workout in the morning to get my endorphins running, to get me excited for the day. And then most of the important meetings I'll have in the first half of the day, where I have the most energy. And then the second half I usually have for either more strategic meetings or more operational things that I need to take care of. But yeah, I like to plan ahead. So every Sunday, I'll usually prepare for the week, for upcoming week, and every day before I go to bed, I always check: is there something I missed? Is there something I forgot to do? And what are the big things that I need to do tomorrow?
Fantastic. Tell us, Mark, you're also an avid reader and learner. You said that you love investing in yourself and your knowledge. I do know that you are one that really recommends and takes part of business and strategic coaching as well. And you're a mentor yourself to many, many individuals. Is there a book, a business book, or maybe not necessarily a business, but it could be a spiritual book as well, that you would really highly recommend that has helped change your life or business?
Absolutely. But first of all, I have to say that thanks to you, you got me excited about the world of coaching, business coaching. So I really want to say hats off to you, and I'm extremely happy that I've met you, because you really opened my eyes. I mean, with I've always I was always intrigued by coaching. What can you achieve with the business coach? But I never imagined that a person can take you so far. It's truly been a pleasure. So again, thank you for introducing me to this amazing world. Regarding the books, I love to listen to podcasts, read different types of books. I'm still old school, so I don't like to listen to audiobooks, but I like to have a print version in my hand because I get the feeling, successful feeling when I finish a book. It's like, wow, it was this big. So the person I really admire and I look up to is NYU professor Scott Galloway. He's an American professor in business school, and he wrote 3 books, and I really I love them. I love them all. And he's really focused on new technologies, the way they're affecting our life. So one book I would really recommend would be The Four. This was his second book, where he basically compares the four horses. So I'm talking about Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. So those are the 4 big giants, tech giants, that are actually dictating our lives in a way. And then the second book, or the final book that he wrote, the third book, was Post Corona, where he focuses on what our lives are going to be after Corona, because everything is changed now. It's we're probably never going to be the same, but that doesn't mean I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in a better way, in a positive. We're always going to be more cautious, prepared. We're going to be faster to respond. Digitization has definitely changed and influenced a lot of industries. It has fastened our life in terms of, if we just look at e-commerce, e-commerce has grown 10 years in just a year. So what I'm trying to say is every tough situation or a crisis has a lot of opportunities. And for me, this is he is a person that truly inspires me, and I love reading his books.
Okay, so Scott Galloway it is. Thanks for sharing that,
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah.
Um, if I ask you one last question, actually, I have 2 more for you. If you met your younger self today, just starting off in business, just starting off in one's career, what would be one most important advice that you would give to yourself?
this this is a really tricky question. So if if I would probably meet myself, I would tell myself, keep on going. Never stop when you hear the answer no. It just might mean no this at this moment, or no for tomorrow, but just keep on going, be persistent, and enjoy. I mean, this is an amazing journey. I mean, we've all experienced challenges and falls that have, I don't know, take us 2 steps back, but this is part of life. It's part of business, and everything that happened to me in my life, I really am happy that it happened. I wouldn't change anything, but I would just tell myself, enjoy and be persistent.
Beautiful words, very wise. Thank you for that. Now, find you, Mark? Where can they connect? Where can they network? Where can they ask you questions? I'm sure we've opened a lot of topics today that people are thrilled and excited about. So, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm extremely open in terms of I like to meet new people, change new ideas. So LinkedIn would probably be the best channel to approach me, or my website.
Your website or LinkedIn. I will post all of it right here below. You will see all the links to places where you can find Mark. Mark, without further ado, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for all the wisdom, for all the experiences and all the tips and advices that you've shared with us today. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the work that you're doing, and keep on rising.
It's truly been an amazing experience working with you and also getting to know you. And I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to also share a little bit of my insights, experience. So again, extremely honored and a huge pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Now, if you like this video, give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you want to be notified every time that we post new content, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that bell next to it. Don't be shy, join us. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.